Farm Basics is brought to you by the Liberty Link trait and Liberty herbicide from Bayer. The most reliable weed management solution, Liberty Link and Liberty herbicide are the link to efficient row crop production and sustainable weed management.
During our Farm Basics time each week, we try to talk about things that farmers are working on and especially relate those to non-farmers. So if you're a non-farmer, we just want you to know that one of the big concerns that we as farmers have is keeping our valuable soil in our field. In other words, reducing erosion.
We are in the perfect spot to be talking about this. We're right on a hillside on our great-grandfather's farm. And you think about that, we're the fourth generation of our family to be farming this ground. And we're on a hillside. How important is it to keep that topsoil there? You think about it, and over the years around the world, we've seen a lot of erosion where the soil, the topsoil specifically, runs off those hillsides and ends up either in the valley or in a river or in somebody else's land. We want to keep that valuable topsoil right where it's at. In this case, here we go, 100 years, more than 100 years after our great-grandfather started farming this ground, we're still farming the same land. That topsoil has been very, very valuable to our family.
Here's the other thing. It's not just the water that's taking this away, it's also the wind. And this is one of the reasons why, if you go back to the 1930s, why were a lot of shelter belts put up after the 1930s? Well, it was obviously to reduce that wind erosion that was occurring back then. In addition to that, today, we as farmers are leaving a lot of residue out in the field. Like where we're standing even, it was harvested, but you don't see any tillage here. There's all this residue that's sitting out here that helps hold the soil in place. The important thing that we talk to farmers and non-farmers about all the time is the little dust that floats in the air is tremendously valuable. That's full of valuable nutrients. We want to keep that on our field because that's worth a lot of money to us.
Well, Brian talked about reducing tillage, and that's a big thing if you want to try and keep soil in place. The other thing that farmers are doing, whether they're doing conventional tillage where they're tilling all the ground up, or whether they're doing strip till where they're just tilling a small strip where they're going to plant and leaving the rest of the soil untouched, or if they're in no-till, is using cover crops. So as soon as this crop is done growing, if there's enough growing season left, farmers will plant something else out there just to protect the soil and hold it in place. It's that important to farmers. Cover crop seed will cost somewhere between $10 and $30 an acre for the seed, but farmers are willing to invest that. That's how much topsoil is worth to them.
Another thing you'll find very often on our farm is grass waterways. And the reason why is reducing tillage, cover crops, just planting lots of crops, period, will help hold soil in place. But sometimes we'll get just huge rains. I mean, we had a couple of 4 to 6 inch rains last year on our farm. Well, there's such a flow of water when we have hills like we do on some of our land that the soil just can't support that kind of rainfall without eroding unless there is grass down there. So in other words, we sacrifice some of our crop area to have permanent grass in those areas where a lot of water may be rushing.
Well, the other thing that we'll do is when we get close to rivers and streams, and you see this across the country, is plant what's called riparian areas. So as water is coming off a hillside, for example, before it can get to the river or lake, farmers will plant grass along the water body. Then a little bit further in, they'll also plant some trees and bushes and do everything they can so any soil that may be washing down with that water will have a chance to get filtered out before it makes it into a river or stream or lake. That's a big thing. So we look at grass waterways, we look at riparian areas, reducing tillage, planting cover crops. There are a number of things farmers are doing to hold the soil in place on their fields.
And if you ever don't think that the farmer is doing a good job today compared to 100 years ago, I want you to think about those 1930s and just understand that back in 2012, so not very long ago, we had the worst drought since the 1930s, and you didn't hear anybody talking about the Dust Bowl or dirty 2012 or anything like that, did you? Farmers have made major advancements to reducing erosion. It's a huge thing.
Well, one other thing farmers are doing a great job on across the country is controlling our weed of the week. We'll show you how to get this tough weed under control coming up later in the show.